Thanks, Jared. And thanks to Swick for the invitation to come down all the way down here to Bibbulmun country from the city actually, but from my spiritual place, which is Ballardong country in the wheat belt up on Yaraguia country, which is the Avon River in English terms. Firstly, I just want to acknowledge the Bibbulmun nation, the Ballardong Nyungar. I think we have the younger people here today, and I want to especially acknowledge my brother Ian, who did the welcome to country this morning, and also my brother Curran, who started the process of my name being put forward to do this today. It's interesting listening to Bill, Mr. Gamage, speaking about the stuff that Nyungar people and Aboriginal people have known for a long time. We've known it even in these periods of colonisation and dispossession and disadvantage and dysfunction. So Nyungar people, in terms of on this side of the country, our mob were the first dispossessed, and particularly the Bibbulmun people from down here. Obviously that first ship that sailed into Western Australia came via Albert. So our knowledge is still, like the country, our knowledge is still in country, and it's still in the spirit and the minds and the souls of Nyungar people. We manage a big chunk of land at the moment. I'm not sure how many people know that, but we don't own that land. That's the difference. That's the differentiator between real authority and real empowerment. But what it has allowed many Nyungar to do, and certainly with my family and my organisation and myself, is we've got enough land to actually to reconnect and re-establish the knowledge that is within us. And it's a journey that is a really important one, and it's a journey that I've certainly travelled myself. But look, I want to... that's me and my cool sons speaking Nyungar out in our country. We've got a just to give you some background, right, before I start the teaching and learning stuff. But we've got 2,100 acres, about 837 hectares of our traditional country out in the wheat belt, just between Beverley and York, right on the Avon River. In fact, at the confluence of the Avon and the Dale rivers. And our farm, the whitefellas call it Avondale, and it is there. It is in the middle of my traditional country for both my mother's side and my father's side. And we actually, my brothers and I, selected that farm because of its location. We would have loved to have chosen, I guess, other property or had a choice of properties, but it was the only one that was up for sale at that time. So the property was purchased through the ILC, the Indigenous Land Corporation, and they do great work in allowing Aboriginal people to, in fact they do pretty ordinary work, but the stuff, the programs that they have are really good in allowing Aboriginal people the opportunity to reconnect to country and to purchase land. They purchase land on behalf of Aboriginal people. So we have this property. Can I control it or will it? Oh, there it is. Sorry. From the laptop. Look, these words, I'm not sure if you can read them in there, there are a lot of words there, but this I guess, and what I want to speak about is not exactly, because I guess I'm going to surprise a few people or maybe shock some people in what I present today, because as traditional owners and as Nyungar land managers, we've been 150, 180 years removed from that responsibility. The journey for Nyungar people especially, and Aboriginal people across the whole of the southern half of Australia, is a process of reconnection, rediscovery, and finding ourselves again. And so land management, and things like land management, are enormous challenges, because as you saw with Bill's presentation and stuff that Bill spoke about, and I spent some time in Weipa where the traditional owners work with us around fire and stuff that Bill's talking about, and their knowledge of fire and land management and resource management is unbroken in Cape York. for Nyungar people. So when you think about it, and I'm sure all of you, or many of you are land managers, when you've been removed from country and the opportunity to manage land with the knowledge that has been part of your family and culture, and you've been removed from that for 5, 6, potentially 10 generations, enormous gaps appear in that ability. And in fact, for many Nyungar people, many of our families and communities will never recover from it. So that's the depth of the damage that's been done, and that's the problem that we have in stepping up to the plate, I guess, and managing land traditionally, because there's also this big issue of economics and sustainability, or sustainable economics. And so my pursuit, as I mentioned, is about, for Nyungar, re-establishing the Nyungar economy, for the Aboriginal economy, which is based on bush foods, cultural knowledge, and ways of knowing and doing and being that are essentially ours, that we can control. And there are markets out there, and there's a lot of work being done around it. However, this stuff here, which I hope you've had a quick flick through, is about our spiritual connection, and that's the power of Nyungar authority and Nyungar Aboriginal connection to country. All of this land here, Nyungar people of this area, the Bibbulmun mobs and the families and the individuals and the communities are still connected to this place. You may own the title, and you may have controlled, and your family may have controlled the management and the authority and the legal rights of all this land for the history of your family. But it is still in the hearts and the minds of Bibbulmun Nyungar people as their country. And that's an important, so this stuff here is about that. And that's our strengths, and that's the stuff that we need, non-Aboriginal people, that we need governments and authorities to allow Nyungar people back on country. Because this trilogy is an endorsement now of the Nyungar nation. The trilogy of being is essentially, and I've tested this with other Aboriginal groups, the trilogy of being around Buja, Mort and Kadajin, which is country, family and knowledge, are the three pillars of our identity, are the three pillars of how we can establish and re-establish and reconnect, and we can pursue the aspirations that we have to survive and for cultural survival. These are the things that we know. We have smart Nyungar and Aboriginal people writing this stuff, developing this stuff, doing our own research and establishing our own frameworks to articulate, write and speak of these things that were never spoken, that were only spoken of. Today they are represented in many, many other forms. And so this knowledge here was a brother, cousin of mine, you may have heard of him, Seelan Garlett, and Seelan's grandmother and my grandmother were sisters. You saw that beautiful photo, or the piece of art, in Bill's presentation of Kings Park. That place is still known to Nyungar people as Kutlara. It is the place of the trapdoor dreamer. And it still is powerful in the spirit of Nyungar people. We still know it, we still go there, and we still know it in terms of what was done, the law, the ceremonies, the places that belong to the certain members of our Nyungar family and community. And my grandmother, whose Nyungar name was Dulyuk, she was a Benel, her name was Nellie Benel, English name. But Dulyuk was born in Kutlara. So that gives me, and my belief is that because we are from the wheat belt, that my grandmother was born there in the late 1800s at a time of ceremony. Because they would have travelled down and gathered there in Wajir country and been conducting ceremony. A bit like these days Nyungar people and Aboriginal people talk about carnival babies. When people go on football carnivals, netball carnivals, come back pregnant. And ceremonies were a bit the same. People went and had ceremony and travelled, and birth doesn't stop. But our grannies used to say that this was a place for all of our children and our grannies and the generations that were to come. These were places where we find that serenity, where we found that sense of belonging in the place that is a part of us, it's a part of our area, and it's absolutely a part of our culture. In Nyungar, this old lady said, "Nitya buja punya, nitya pulbarangin buja kalak maya punya. Demanga mamanga weird haya murt punya. Demanga mam nunukut buja punya kalak pulin kolonga borangin and yin." those would say that this is my country where I belong. This is Demanga, Manga, my grandmother's and my grandfather's country. It's their land, and this is the land where their spirits now move. Buddha, or later on, this is going to be the responsibility of my children and my children's children. Their home in this place will always be linked to their spirit. So, on that bit there, we as Nyungar people believe that that's the basis for this thing that Australia, Aboriginal Australia, looked like this in 1788. And it's, as you can see, the only places that were no man's land, if you like, are these few patches of white. Why they were white, I don't know. Maybe that's where the white fella should have gone. So this is the framework. This is the representation of our spirit, our culture, our identity. That when I do cultural enrichment stuff and others of our family and our clan groups, we talk about this stuff. I've had meetings with senior Nyungar men out in our country because the work that we've been doing, the work that I've been personally involved in, has been about identifying, speaking to country, singing the country, spending time on country and being there, talking about culture, talking about business, as men, as women, as family, as community. And these processes are really, really important. Wudja is the main focus for us. And in there we have, these issues of, and I use this diagram also to teach non-Aboriginal people about how to communicate issues of teamwork and discipline and work ethic and responsibility and obligation in a commercial sense, in a corporate sense. How do we engage Aboriginal people in becoming responsible workers and reliable and dependable employees? Well, the answers are in this sort of stuff. And we need our Nyungar people and our Aboriginal people to understand this stuff. Because today, this stuff would have been taught in the ceremonies and songs that Bill spoke about, in how knowledge was passed on. Today, we can teach the same stuff in a contemporary sense, using contemporary technologies. And we can do PowerPoint presentations. And we can pick up a guitar or a mouth organ and sing a song that is a tribal and traditional song. And we can do it in a way that involves entertainment and spirit and culture. And we have to have respect for knowledge. We have to have respect for family because they're the critical conduits. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is sacred, and knowledge must be respected. And if our families are poor, and if our families are dysfunctional and unable to articulate, nurture, and develop its young and its children, then knowledge does not get passed on. So there's a lot of work that Nyungar people have got to do. There's a lot of work that our communities and our society has to do to allow Nyungar people to grow back to where it is that we certainly want to be, and I think where Australia needs us to be. And in terms of land management, this is the stuff that I want to now move into. The issue of is that 16 minutes? 16 minutes.
That's 16 left.
This is the, and I don't know if any of you have seen this, but this is the Nyungar calendar. And it has 6 seasons, and it's the stuff, it's the key to re-establishing that knowledge. Because our seasons are overlaid with the 4 seasons of the English and the Western, your world, our current world, the world that dominates our thinking in terms of land management and agriculture. And the 4 seasons are still being used by farmers out in our country where they've just, I just cannot believe that the guys who lease part of our land and practice their farming are still doing stuff that their grandparents were doing. Now if you like Tony Abbott and you don't believe that climate change is happening, then maybe that's the reason, that's the explanation. But the reality is, rains are coming at all different times of the year. It's hot and then it's cold again. And so when is the good time, when is the best time to plant a monoculture of wheat or to allow your sheep to get the nutrients that it needs to be fat for harvest and slaughter? And it's these places and these spaces, I guess, where on our property we've started to practice what Bill speaks about and reintroduce at times of Jaron and Gilba, which is these in-between periods, you know, the August, September, April, May. Periods where we burn. And we burn our land and we get ready to make sure that we become authorities with fire. I spent 18 years as a firefighter where I was highly trained and highly experienced in managing fire as a massive risk and a massive threat. And so a lot of that management, a lot of that knowledge was based around the fear of fire. And I can tell you that I was absolutely fearful at times as a fireman, particularly going with some of the bushfires that I was unfortunately called to up in the hills. However, and I don't think on our country anyway, that burning in summer is very smart. And so the cooler periods are the times when fire management can be reintroduced. It's cool burning, it's low burning, and the way that it's done is around, going back to our knowledge wheel, it's about understanding those seasons. The seasons that allow us to see the indicators of when the right time, and the birds, the flowers, the animals tell us. So we don't say that on the 1st of December it's summer. Or the 1st of August it's now time to do our seed collection or seed, what do you call it, tree planting. It varies. And for my advice to Nyungar people and to fellows who want to do this stuff is understand stuff, because it allows us to then start to think about the indicators that are there in nature itself. And nature can still and does still provide us with that knowledge of when is the best time and the right time to do certain things. It's a nice roadmap, isn't it? These are the, this is the song. My old brother Noel Nannup did a lot of work with Calm in his time with Calm, and then beyond those, he put together about 35 years of research, travelling around speaking to, he says, between 80 and 100 Nyungar people over the last 30 to 40 years. And so these old fellas had they had the last remnants of Nyungar knowledge around this thing called songlines. And the songlines, when you look at this, goes, this could absolutely be overlaid with a gazetted roadmap and would show you the way everywhere. Unfortunately, Anne and I didn't have it this morning, and I didn't know the song for down here, so we got lost. But that's how Nyungar people contributed to the opening up of the colony. Because when the colonists and the settlers handpicked there, and they did handpick them, the black trackers, they chose the men who were high knowledge holders and authorities, because those men knew the songs, and the men knew where you could go and where you couldn't go. And so they also knew that those men would not take them to places that was unsafe for the men themselves. And so when they travelled, the men sang their songs, moved across country, and the whitefellas mapped it. So the song lines are now here. This stuff is sacred. This is 40,000 years plus of knowledge. We don't control this land like we did, but we have this template. And it's interesting listening to Bill speak about templates. We can design and deliver and develop our own templates for the things that we want to do. That's what I do. This stuff, so that's our song lines. I won't spend too much time on that stuff, but I just wanted to also, just want to spare, 16 minutes? So what I'm going to do, sorry, I just want to pause for a sec. I was going to show a little video of all the look, I might just do that, because I think this gives you an idea of, if we get to the sound, doesn't it? Well, this video was done as part of our So this project was actually funded by Whitfield NRM, and it's a project. Ballardong Nyungar is the Nyungar term for reforestation, revegetation, if you like. Anne Smith is here, and David from Greening Australia. Greening Australia and Whitfield NRM have been two of our greatest supporters and really strong in supporting us to do stuff. And this project was a recording traditional knowledge project. Have a listen.
This is our property that we've acquired through the ILC. We acquired it back in February 2009, and we then embarked on a tree planting process and project. So all these trees, we planted them in about July, August of 2009, where our vision for the whole property is to do this across the whole place. And it's 2,000 acres of wheat sheep farming. It's probably been over-farmed for the last 150 years, but it's a typical farm property for this area and probably for the whole of Australia, where it has been over-farmed, where the farmers have come in and they've just run tractors and sheep and cattle and over-fertilised it, killed all the growth, you know, that sits on here, that holds the soil in. So it really needs traditional owners to come back in, and we're really privileged and blessed to have been, you know, to acquire our traditional country back. This is the country of my mother's and my father's, both ways. My father's country is south of here and my mother's is north. So we're right in the middle of traditional country for my mum, all Ballardong people. So it's very sacred, very special, and what we're doing is practicing our traditional caring for country. We want to reinvigorate it with trees and with spirit and with culture and with caring, so that it's a legacy and it's a place where all of our people for future generations from now onwards can come and just be here as Ballardong Nyungar, sitting and being on country. So it's a very special place. It's great for our, you know, the whole of our environment. It's great for our country, and it's great for ourselves. So we're excited by it all. As you can see from that hill over there, it's pretty degraded country. So we've started. This is the very back end of the property. So the idea is that we start back here. We continue to utilise the other parts of the property for grazing and cropping, and draw an income from that. But as we progress this activity of tree planting, we'll eventually move back down to the homestead and all the way to the river, and basically have all the native species of this area back on country. So I don't have any doubts at all. I think we can see how it's already transforming the land. It's a really success indicator for how well it's gone for us. You know, the diverse species, you can see that they're all strong and healthy. So as you can see, we've got our 2 rows of plantings that were obviously hand planted. This one here, which obviously is about the same age as these trees, obviously shot up in the middle of the row. So, you know, that's what we want to encourage, is for these young plants and the plants that are in here that we can't see yet to end up like this, in the middle of the rows, filling the bush, filling the area, so it doesn't look so artificial. As you can see, these are big gum trees, and for them to be, you know, less than 3 foot apart is just is a mistake, and something's going to happen, you know, with the growth rates or the survival rates of these. So the next time we do this, you know, the plantings will certainly be mixed up with the different species, and we certainly won't have the big gum trees like this, too close to each other. We're about to engage and embark on a fire burning regime where we want to reintroduce that traditional fire stick farming. Lara we call that in Nyungar, which is traditionally a part of certainly all Aboriginal groups, but for Nyungar we were known as fire stick farmers. And all the understory that even though we've planted them here, we haven't had a lot of success. And here we've got a bit of a rabbit problem, so we've got to get rid of them. But when you look at the grass, and there's a lot of dead grass, and it's all introduced species of grass where the sheep and the animals, the farmers have come in and ploughed and just run livestock on it for 150 years. So the soil, has been trampled. We want to bring that life back in. We firmly believe that there's a lot of life under the surface of the soil, and the health of using fire to reintroduce or reinvigorate that life again underneath is what we want to do. So all this grass here that's introduced and is killing our country, it's strangling the gum trees, and we've planted them and they're looking really good. But we really believe that to really get the full value out of the soil and what's underneath the surface, we really do need to have a pretty vigorous and programmed fire burning practice. And that's what we want to encourage with whatever seed is and stock that's underneath the surface. We really want to bring that back out, and I don't think we can get rid of that until we get rid of all these this introduced species of grass, which, like I say, is just strangling, and it's not good. So we want to burn all this back. It's I think our trees are strong enough. I think we're right to do that, and that's what we want to get started on this year sometime. And this is what we want to build: is a model and a methodology for to support Nyungar and Aboriginal cultural values, because it really can drive the whole natural resource management regime and the whole process is associated with caring for country. And what we're really tuned into, and what we really want to highlight, is that value, and that the value of cultural ways can really drive environmental and conservation projects. And so we built NRM and Greening Australia and all of these conservation and natural resource management agencies and organisations really need to start to align themselves with our cultural authority and our cultural knowledge. And whilst they've been passive supporters or supporters, periphery type supporters for ourselves and other Aboriginal groups, once we develop our knowledge base, once we have the evidence, which is what we've got here, and through our case study I really want to use and inspire or motivate other Aboriginal groups to realise that our knowledge, like this country, is just below the surface, and we need to tap into that knowledge and really bring it out to care for country and to lead some of these projects that government and non-government agencies and organisations want to embark on. So as you can see, in the foreground is the trees that we've planted in the last 4 years. Behind that is the next area that we want to vegetate, but you can see the contrast. It's pretty stark. It doesn't look so bad because there's a little bit of greenery with the rain and this time of the year, but in the middle of summer it's even more stark. That country is brown, it's yellow, it's dry, it's dusty, and you've got this beautiful greenery. So the health of country just is demonstrated directly by the trees and the vegetation that's on. And White Creek, they set themselves down.
Thanks for that, Paul. Look, I've just got to wind it up, but I think what the story that we want to tell and the evidence that we want to provide is that there are Nyungar people doing stuff. There's Aboriginal people doing fantastic work using fire, tapping into their own knowledge, and the groups that have got unbroken knowledge are absolutely using all of those techniques that Bill spoke about. So Aboriginal people are still actively involved in both culture and land management. And environmentally, there is no separation that I've seen anyway in the 10 years that I've been involved in NRM. there's no separation from cultural values and environmental values. To me, they are absolutely aligned and entwined. So, you know, yeah, with our land, I mean, we've got 2,100 acres. We are actually, and I work obviously closely, as I said, with greening, and says the farmers who, you know, because people are driven by the economic imperative, farmers are very reluctant to give up 1 to 5% of their arable land for revegetation and rehabilitation work, conservation work. We're giving up 100% of it because it's part of our responsibility and obligation to caring for country. You know, it's Aboriginal groups that really do need to be involved, even on private lands where the conservation and the rehabilitation of damaged lands is critical to the ever-changing, you know, environmental changing concerns that we've had. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We have 7 minutes for questions, and if Bill, don't all start at once. Bill, if you'd like to join us, because I'm sure that you can contribute to this conversation if you're still with us, Bill. You sir first, yep.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry, for thanks, Paul. That's a very good presentation. A couple of questions. You're planting more endemic species to the area that were originally growing there. And is there a long-term plan for possible exploitation or commercial gain or future out of that the work you're doing now?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Look, absolutely, all the species that we've got. I mean, look, one of the things that I've been working with greening, because what we've decided, the approach that we're taking is the mixing of the sacred and the science. We need science involved in supporting our cultural and spiritual pursuits to do with land management and caring for country, because the land is so damaged, and we need people with technical knowledge. In terms of, you know, the species mix, they are absolutely from that species mix, but what I've been saying to greening is we want, through the nurseries and through the purchase of the seed, we want that seed to be germinated and collected from Ballardong country.
Right.
And it goes further than just regional and geographical you know, species and biodiversity mixes. It goes right down to the spiritual and cultural.
Or what's the end game for that 2,100 acres?
Look, we've got a vision and an aspiration to plant 1 million trees on that property.
So this will be a non-income earning piece of land?
No, absolutely not. No, we understand, you know, that the economy and sustainability, economic sustainability,
Sure.
is absolutely critical.
So what sort of agriculture do you see being used on that land once it's rehabilitated?
Look, we've already started the process of reconnecting through these species that we've chosen with greening, the bush foods, the bush medicines, species that we've...
So a whole new industry, basically, from an old industry?
Yeah. And just on that, there's been a lot of interest, and you know, as Nyungar, we've got brothers, and Kelly Flugie from down this way, and Richard Wally, you know, heavily involved, and I'm about to become involved with them in negotiating and speaking with the big perfume houses. So we've got, which I didn't mention, but we've got 100 hectares of sandalwood, native sandalwood at the front of our property as well.
That's valuable.
Yeah.
Ma'am?
Thank you. It's very interesting. Even though the soil is highly degraded, is there still existing grass seeds, original grass seeds in that area?
Native grasses?
Native grasses, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and look, a lot of we were a bit, because we've used very little pesticides and herbicides for, because we just believe that fire can be the
cure-all.
Cure-all, that's right, clean it up. But what we've found, and I think those of you who are experienced agriculturists and farmers and environmentalists know that once you remove livestock from a property or from a patch of land, the land starts to recover itself. And we've found several species of native grasses just recently, actually. So in areas where there's been no livestock for 4 or 5 years. So that's without us doing anything. The native grasses are starting to come back.
Bill, do you have any observations on what you've just seen?
Well, it's a good, excuse me, it's a good illustration of your objective is part of how you actually manage the land, how you want it to finish up. Is an important part. I suppose if I had a piece of land, I'd start with the grass. Put in the native grasses or wait till they come back. That has a lot of advantages. First of all, you've got commercial crop there for a while, and also the native grasses tend to flourish in summer. So they're drought water shielding. In summer when European grasses are dead, they're green, and that shelters ground, holds water and so on. As well as that, most native grasses have a root base more or less equivalent to the height of the grass, which means your roots go down much further.
So they can find their own water source further down. But
That's right. And
not as dependent on surface water as the European grass. Yes, Gavin. Sorry, Brian. Yeah, you.
I've been working with Oral for quite some time. I've been privileged enough to work with Oral through this journey. And just touching on what has been said just now is the thinking has changed quite radically. When we first started, it was, and also I think anybody who's been involved in NRM will know that the journey has changed for all of us. So what we were planting 15 years ago is completely different to what we're planting now. So that there has been a lot of discussion driven from Oral's thinking and his journey through this process that is changing how we're planning to work on the country in the future. So
The cheese has been moving.
yeah, and we're tweaking the concept all the time, aren't we? We talk for the whole journey down here, and that's probably why we got lost.
Bernie?
After last night's presentation by Bill in Boston, someone in the audience asked him, what is the role of kangaroos in the future of the land? Because if you understood what Bill was saying today, he was talking about the fact that the Aborigines actually really wanted to create the grass so that it in turn attracted kangaroos.
Well, they were farming kangaroos to all intents and purposes.
Exactly, and I'm just wondering, 2,100 acres, I'm just thinking there must be opportunity for not farming kangaroos in the traditional European sense, with fences and trucking them away to Avatar and things like that. But do you see a potential role for kangaroos in the economic side of what you're doing out there?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, absolutely, kangaroos and emus and other, other native fauna. But also, my shift and what Anne's saying is, when we first started, I just thought, farming is crazy. The way that people run sheep and do their cropping is just, it's so damaging to the land. And so I was dead against, continuing, I guess, what the damage has been done. But what I now realise is that, that sustainable agriculture is a really important thought process for land managers, and it's the economic sustainability around understanding and practising better agricultural, sustainable ag and alternative ag is really important, and that can be part of our, if you like, our Nyungar economy, because there's no reason, the changes that's happening for me personally is that my eyes are being opened to thinking that we have to go back hunting and gathering kangaroo and korrit and all these bush foods and gather all that native stuff, when in fact it's our land and we're using our own practices, and we can use whatever species of anything that we choose, and that's the economy, the indigenous, the Nyungar economy can be around anything that's viable, any commercial enterprise.
Oral, absolutely. Last question. It's okay.
Have you conducted the burn on the property?
Yeah, that's a good question. Did you follow that place up yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that video was 2009, I think. So yeah, we've done 2 years of burning, and as Bill suggested, the mosaic, the slow burn, and the patchwork type processes are exactly what we've been doing. Look, for us, it's not necessarily about just managing the land. We actually want to get rid of the weeds, and so the burning is more about weed control than but we want to get rid of the weeds in a more natural way, and then start to reintroduce the grasses. But the great thing is that those grasses are actually coming back in patches and areas, and so we've got, I guess, already a seed bank that's been established.
Fantastic. That's it in action, people. That is Indigenous land management in action, in practice. You saw it right there. Please thank Oral. I know that, Chair, but I think you can give this to a present as a present for somebody. Enjoy it, or you will enjoy it. Now, thank you all.